Hello, friends, and welcome back to All the Things Sort of Truth, the alcohol-fueled chapter-by-chapter reread of the Sort of Truth series with a tiny child's sippy cup of craft brew on the side. We are not children, and we're drinking from it, so it's fine.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm Nate.
And I'm Jade. And on today's episode, we're going to be getting into Chapter 37 of Stone of Tears.
That's right, and honestly, I don't think we have anything else to add, so we're just going to jump right into it.
Hell yeah.
Character change. We are no longer with Richard and Verna, right? Chase and Rachel, they're over by some weird ghost pool thing, and we are back with Kahlan and the boys. Chasing a small army, so I made it sound like they're just hanging out, like they're old buddies, but they're actually doing some pretty intense shit. They notice that they are pretty organized, right? But they're not experienced. Kahlan is looking at this army, and the only reason she's able to do that is because they left a hole in their sight line, which is like amateur move.
Yeah, like the whole point of sentries is to alert you to any dangers that might be sneaking up on you, and if those dangers can literally just walk between your sentries, then they're kind of not doing any good.
And we know that Kahlan guesstimates the other army being at like 50,000 dudes. So leaving holes in your sight lines and letting people into your camp is like the worst thing you can do. All it takes is one or two guys. They know exactly where you are. They know who's in charge, and they will decimate you.
I don't know anything about battle, but it feels like Battle 101. So Kahlan's kind of pissed about this situation in the first place because she doesn't really want to be taking this extra time away from the task that was given to her by Richard. But she feels like she's obligated because it's her role as a mother confessor. So we're doing it, man.
The timing couldn't be worse. This can't be easy for Kahlan. We know that the only thing she wants to do is to get to Zed and get Richard back. That's it.
Yeah.
Her sense of, like, I don't know the exact word I want to use, but like her sense of honor and integrity, like, this is my job. She's not necessarily obligated. I mean, she is, but she's still choosing this because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
She's going to stop 5,000 people from dying. And if she can do that in her position as the mother confessor, she's going to, because, surprise, the love interest of the hero is not a piece of shit.
Well, yeah, and especially if the death doesn't have to come at the hands of more death. Like,
yeah.
If she's going to be able to just swoop in there and stop this shit and be like, hey, guys, it's not a good idea, all right? then she might as well, because that's not, I mean, it's taking a little bit of time, but it's not hurting anybody.
So Kahlan and the boys head down into the camp, and once they get there, some men come to arms in front of it, because, I mean, these guys are way too late. Yeah. They're already there.
It's like the dog when he's sleeping and somebody comes in and he's like, oh, shit!
He notices they're in the living room and goes, oh, my gosh! Yeah, that's exactly the same thing. They're like, oh, no, we were watching. We were totally watching. No, you weren't. We caught you sleeping. She takes her hood down, and immediately the front two guys drop to their knees because they recognize her. This is the mother confessor, and she's the ultimate law of the land.
Yeah.
So, like, they're not screwing around. They're immediately, weapons down. We're cool. It's the boss. It's fine. The boss is here. She's supposed to be here. It would excite you. Like, yeah, we have leadership now.
Yeah, important person. Yes.
So Chan and the brothers are not used to seeing her not be hit in the face as a greeting, and they're a little surprised by that.
Yeah, they're like, oh, they kneel for you. Like, they all kneel for you.
Yeah, and it's like the first book when we learned that they smack each other to say hello, we were like, oh, that's fucking weird. They have to be feeling the exact same thing right now. They're like, what are you guys doing on the ground? Get up, like, you're getting dirty. What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, and I think it also speaks to, like, they don't all see her as, like, an equal. Like, in the village, everybody smacks each other in the face, even though she's a mother confessor. She doesn't get hit as hard as other people. But, I mean, I guess she does.
But she's still part of it, yeah.
Right. This is a whole different thing. She's not kneeling for these guys. Like, they're kneeling for her.
It is very clear she is above all of that.
Yes.
Once Kahlan sees the captain, She is shocked by how young he is. And his men. Like, all of them are around the same age. Not that she's much older, though. We figure Kahlan at this point is 27.
Yeah.
It hasn't mentioned anything about a birthday, so I'm going to assume still 27, not 28. But these guys are like 15, 16.
Yeah, now that you mention it, they really should have, like, a little birthday party here and there, because that's the only bright spot. They should celebrate more.
No. But here's where she starts calling them children. It is incessant. It goes the entire time they talk. And I just wanted to make the point that if you're trying to persuade somebody to do something you want them to do, maybe don't insult them. I mean, these guys are young. True. They're teenagers. They're in the army. Newsflash, you can join the army at 18. So it's not that far off from like the youngest guys joining up now in our country. But don't sit there and be like, you're children, you're stupid, you don't know what you're talking about, you're all dumb, do what I want you to do.
Yeah, it's very demeaning.
Yeah. And I mean, that was right off the bat. But Ryan, like, stands up for his men. That's the general. I'm sorry. The captain. Captain. C-A-P''N. The only real good spelling of captain.
I mean, it is interesting that it's not like Ryan has the he has the backbone of a young soldier who's very proud of himself and what he's done. Like, he tries to stand up for him and his men, but when Kahlan is like, "No, you are a fucking child. Here are the reasons why," he's like, "Oh, yeah,
okay."
Of course, they've been through a little bit. Again, we kind of brush over trauma sometimes.
Right.
But there's trauma for everybody happening.
Kahlan pulls the captain and his 2 lieutenants away from the rest. That's Captain Bradley Ryan. He has 2 first names. I don't know the significance of that, but he has 2 first names. I had to point it out.
I did think it was interesting that although she immediately popped off at him and his men about being children in front of the entire force, she did decide, I'm not going to do all of this in front of your men. We're going to go over here into this little corner in the woods and talk about this privately so I don't fucking rail into you in front of the men.
Well, yeah, I mean, we know that his men aren't going to follow him anymore to any capacity if she completely takes the wind out of him in front of them. Like, that's the captain. They all look to that guy for wisdom or confidence or whatever it is they need in the moment. He's the guy. And if she takes him down all of the pegs, if she just throws all of the pegs in the trash, we'll say, they're going to be like, fuck off. And then she has no control over these 5,000 teenagers. I'm going to stress that. Teenagers.
Yeah.
Good fucking luck, Kahlan. So, no, this is a very, very smart move.
Yeah, I appreciated it. Like, you can give somebody the truth and the facts, but you don't have to do that in front of everybody.
Right.
But once she gets him over there, she asks him how many kids he has with him. And again, he tries to stand up for himself, but Kahlan shuts him down again, being like, dude, I walked right the fuck up in here and nobody said a word.
Yeah, that back there, that was not hard. That's a problem. You should make that difficult to do.
Do you see us all wearing our bright white, like, mantles that are fluffy and shit? Like, we strolled right through that. I don't even know if you know, but you're chasing an army 10 times your size. So I don't think you know what you're getting into here. He is actually pretty cocky at this point.
I don't think he's being cocky. I think he is a true-hearted believer in his cause. I think he is all about being loyal to the country and, like, doing your duty, and I think that's where this is coming from. I still think he's stupid, don't get me wrong. He is definitely going to get murdered if he just goes ahead with the plan, which we will talk about. But I don't think he's being, like, a little arrogant asshole about it. I think he's just like, this is my job. And that back there was fucking awful. So we're going to do what we're going to do. It kind of sounded to me like if we go in there and attack these guys and we die doing it, then we died doing a good thing. And I'm okay with that.
100% behind all of that. The only thing that made me feel like he was a little bit, and it didn't even make me really hate him. It just made me like, he smiles. Like, he has a not weird, but he has like a sly little smile on his face as he's being like, I know shit, Kahlan. He's like, we know. We've been chasing them. We're not going to stumble upon them. Like, I know how many they fucking have. We have a plan. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and the plan is that they're going to use this classic war maneuver called the hammer and the anvil. When he explains this to Kahlan, he does it in the most hilarious way. I don't think it was a joke from Terry. I don't think it was meant to be funny, but I cracked up listening to it. He's like, okay, first, we're going to have the pikemen along the narrow part of this divergence in the woods. Okay, we learned about that earlier in the book. If you attack at the narrow part, a few people can hold off a big army.
Bottleneck it.
Yeah, right? So we know that'll work, at least partly. He's like, that's the anvil. Then we're going to have the rest of these dudes over here. And mind you, this is a very basic version. We're going to have these dudes over here come from the back and then drive in to the anvil. They're the hammer. This plan is called the hammer and the anvil. And I'm like, well, duh.
Yeah, the way he was like spelled it out for you.
I would have been really surprised if it was like Franks and Beans or whatever. I was like, of course it is.
Yeah, no, actually I did. I noted that too. I was like, I don't think you needed to repeat that so many times in that little paragraph.
Kahlan just stares at him. You said that weird. But she is like incredulous about it. She's like, it'll never work. Look, they're 10 times your number. So even if you are an anvil and they're the hammer, and then you got the army in between you, once you connect, you're surrounded.
Yeah.
So bad plan, dude.
Plus, they're like way bigger than you, so you're not going to scare them into doing shit. They're going to look at you and be like, okay.
Yeah, they're going to overwhelm you just by numbers. And that was another thing Kahlan says. They will kill you at their leisure. They won't even have to try because you're just going to walk right into them and say, here we are, kill us. Right. You're stupid.
So the captain tells Kahlan that he's been taught that with good men, a small force can overcome a large one. But she explains to him that good men don't really fucking matter if you can't scare the bigger force into doing what you want. This is very clearly a parallel situation to the one with the mud people and the Jokopo. Even if, this gets mentioned later in the chapter, but, I could tell even right here that that's where we were like, the train was driving down the tracks that way.
Which I think is kind of cool because in a lot of books, they leave you to assume. And in both of these books so far, you learn a little random bit of knowledge here or there, right? Terry just drops that nugget for you. And then you're like, oh, cool. I don't know why I need to know this.
Why did you tell us this in the middle of death?
And then stuff like this pops up. So you actually have a general idea of what these two people are talking about. Now, Jade and I are not going to go through every detail of this tactical plan. There are many parts. If you've read the book, if you're reading along with us, you know that to be true. It is a little bit confusing. I was listening to it at work, and I had to actually stop and read it on lunch with the Kindle.
Yeah.
So I could be like, oh, okay, now I understand what they mean. But it's a lot. But with the basic little tidbits that Goodkind leaves in there, you're like, I understand. And I think that's cool.
Yeah, it takes a minute sometimes, too. Because the words going by your brain, especially the way that Mr. Bond reads, can sometimes just get jumbled for some reason. I have to stop and fully soak it in. But so if people like me have no fucking idea about battle plans and shit, right, he can lay it out for you.
Oh, you don't know how to battle?
No, I don't normally battle. Can we drink?
Well, is it game night if we don't?
No. No.
Speaking of drinking.
Oh, I was so hoping that you were going to say that.
It's totally time for the beer break. So tonight, we are actually doing something a little different. Don't worry, the beer break is definitely happening. But we're not drinking just one beer. We're drinking two. Not separately, together.
What?
Oh, man. Just blew your minds. So I was at the store trying to